Be still for a moment. I do not ask you to be still merely to relax your body or to calm your nerves. I ask you to be still because there is something profound that needs to be recognized. Something that can only be detected when the noise of your daily life is silenced. There is a belief operating beneath your awareness right now. It is quiet. It is subtle. And it is rarely questioned. It does not announce itself as fear. It does not sound like a negative thought that you can easily identify and dismiss. In fact, this belief is so cunning that it often disguises itself as your best friend. It dresses itself up in the costumes of responsibility, realism, and even humility. It convinces you that it is there to protect you from disappointment. But in reality, it is the architect of every limitation you have ever experienced. This belief has shaped more limitation, caused more delay, and created more quiet frustration in your life than any external obstacle ever could. It is not what you consciously think about your desires. You may consciously want wealth, health, and love. You may visualize them and affirm them. But this belief lies deeper than your conscious desire. It is what you have accepted as normal. It is the baseline setting of your reality. And until this baseline is exposed and rewritten, nothing truly changes. The ancient scriptures tell us that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Notice the precision of that statement. It does not say as a man hopes. It does not say as a man wishes on a star. It says as he thinks in his heart. The heart here is not the physical organ, but the seat of your subconscious, your feeling nature, the inner assumption of what is true for you. The subconscious mind does not reason like your conscious mind does. It does not analyze data or debate with you. It simply accepts what is impressed upon it. It assumes, and whatever it assumes, life reflects back to you without argument. The sneaky belief I am talking about is this: the deep-seated conviction that you are subject to life rather than life being subject to your consciousness. You may never say this out loud. You may even reject it intellectually because you have studied these laws and you know better. Yet, if you feel pushed around by circumstances, if you feel shaped by your history, delayed by timing, limited by your family background, or defined by past mistakes, then this belief is active. It is running in the background like a virus in a computer, slowing down every program you try to run. It whispers to you in your most vulnerable moments. It says, "This is just how things are." That sentence, more than any other combination of words in human history, locks reality in place. "This is just how things are" is the anthem of the unconscious mind. It sounds mature to say it. It sounds grounded. Your friends and family will nod in agreement when you say it because it sounds like you are facing reality. But it is not facing reality. It is resignation disguised as wisdom. It is a spiritual surrender to the illusion of the senses. To say this is just how things are is to admit that you believe the outer world has more power than your inner world. It is to bow down to the image in the mirror and wait for the image to smile first. We must make a critical distinction here, one that will serve as the foundation for everything else we discuss. We must distinguish between acceptance and agreement. Most people use these words interchangeably, but in the world of energy and consciousness, they are opposites. To master the art of speaking to the universe, you must understand the difference. Acceptance is simply the acknowledgement of what currently exists. It is looking at your bank account and seeing the number without lying to yourself. It is looking at a medical diagnosis or a broken relationship and seeing the facts of the matter. Acceptance is sanity. You do not hallucinate that it is sunny when it is raining. You accept that it is raining. However, agreement is something entirely different. Agreement is the emotional contract you sign with that reality. Agreement is when you look at the rain and say, "This rain will never stop and I am destined to be cold and wet forever." Agreement is when you look at the low number in the bank account and say, "I am poor." Acceptance acknowledges the temporary state of affairs. Agreement solidifies that state into a permanent identity. The great masters of history including the figure of Christ, never accepted how things are as final. They accepted what is in the moment, but never agreed that it was the ultimate truth. This distinction is everything. Acceptance without agreement is power. Acceptance with agreement is bondage. When you agree with a limitation, you merge with it. You give it your own life force. You say yes to it. And because the universe is a giant mirror of your consent, it says yes to it as well. But when you accept a situation without agreeing with it, you stand apart from it. You become the observer rather than the victim. You say to the circumstance that I see you are here, but I do not recognize your authority over my future. This is the stance of true spiritual power. It is the ability to stand in the middle of a storm and know that the blue sky above the clouds is more real than the thunder you hear with your ears. Let us look at the story of Lazarus to illustrate this profound truth. When Jesus stood before the tomb of Lazarus, he was facing the ultimate absolute fact of human existence, which is death. The physical senses said Lazarus is dead. The smell of decay was real. The grief of the crowd was real. The stone blocking the tomb was heavy and solid. Jesus did not deny any of this. He did not say that death is an illusion in a way that mocked the grief of others. He acknowledged the situation fully. He even wept. That is acceptance. But he did not agree with the authority of death. He did not agree that death had the final word. He spoke from a higher assumption. He spoke from a place of identity that superseded the physical facts. When he commanded Lazarus to come forth, that command did not come from a place of panic. It did not come from a place of hoping it would work. It came from a place of knowing. He did not ask the stone for permission to move. He did not ask the body for permission to breathe. He spoke to the consciousness of Lazarus because he knew that consciousness is the only reality and that biological life is merely a shadow cast by consciousness. This is where the subconscious belief within you must be uprooted. You have been looking at the tombs in your life, the dead dreams, the stagnant finances, the cold relationships, and you have not only accepted them, but you have agreed with them. You have stood before the tomb and said, "This is the end." You have let the heaviness of the stone convince you that you are trapped, but you are not trapped by the stone. You are trapped by your agreement with the stone. You have been taught subtly and persistently that reality is something you respond to rather than something that responds to you. You have been taught that effort is more powerful than assumption. That struggle is noble. That ease must be earned through suffering. But I tell you now that ease is not a reward for good behavior. Ease is the natural consequence of alignment. When you align your internal agreement with the truth of who you are, the struggle dissolves, not because you fought it, but because you withdrew your consent from it. The subconscious belief says, "I must see it to believe it." This is the logic of the sensory man. It is the logic that keeps humanity bound to the wheel of history. If you only believe what you see, you can only recreate the past. You are doomed to repeat the same patterns over and over again because you are using the old reflection to generate the new image. The law of assumption operates in reverse. The law says you must believe it to see it. This is not just mystical language. It is the physics of creation. Your internal state is the blueprint. The external world is the construction site. No builder waits for the house to appear before drawing the blueprints. The blueprint must exist first in the mind of the architect. If you are waiting for the evidence to appear before you offer your agreement, you will wait forever. The universe is waiting for you. It is waiting for you to declare the truth. It is waiting for you to break the agreement with limitation. You must realize that your current circumstances are not the truth of your life. They are the echo of your past thoughts and beliefs. They are the smoke left over from a fire that burned yesterday. Why would you define yourself by the smoke? Why would you let the residue of the past dictate the potential of the future? The sneaky belief that you are subject to life whispers, that you are a victim of cause and effect. It tells you that if you were born in a certain place, or if you have a certain level of education, or if the economy is doing a certain thing, then you can only achieve a certain result. It presents these logical connections as if they were iron bars. But they are not iron bars. They are smoke rings. They only hold their shape because you do not blow them away with the breath of your own spirit. You are not a victim of cause and effect. You are the cause. Your consciousness is the cause. The world is the effect. When you reverse this relationship in your mind, when you truly understand that the world has no choice but to reshape itself around your assumption, the heavy burden of trying to force things to happen falls off your shoulders. You stop trying to manipulate the mirror. You stop trying to shout at the echo to make it say something different. You change the voice. You change the face. You change the internal agreement. This hidden belief often disguises itself as humility. It says, "Who am I to ask for so much? Who am I to assume I can be great? Who am I to command the universe?" But true humility is not making yourself small. True humility is recognizing that you are nothing without the divine presence within you. But with that presence, you are everything. It is arrogant to think your little doubts are stronger than the universal law. It is arrogant to think your past mistakes are too big for the creative power of God to overcome. To assume your greatness is not pride. It is the highest form of worship because it acknowledges the power that created you. So, as we move deeper into this understanding, I want you to identify where you have been agreeing with limitation. Where have you looked at a temporary situation and signed a permanent contract with it in your heart? Where have you let the phrase, "this is just how things are," become your philosophy? It is time to tear up that contract. It is time to look at the facts with eyes of acceptance but a heart of defiance. You can say, "Yes, this is the situation right now," but it is not the truth of tomorrow. It is simply the raw material I will use to build my new creation. The silence we spoke of at the beginning is the space where you break the agreement. It is the holy instant where you stop reacting to the world and start acting upon it. In that silence, do you find the intruder? You find that subtle belief that says, "Wait, be careful, don't hope too much." And once you find it, you do not fight it. You simply recognize it as a lie. You realize it has no power other than the power you give it. And the moment you withdraw your agreement, the moment you stop nodding your head to the suggestions of fear, the entire structure of limitation begins to crumble. It may not disappear instantly from your sight, but the foundation has been shattered. And because the foundation is gone, the structure must fall. This is the law. This is the promise. And this is the first step in learning to speak to the universe correctly. You must first stop agreeing with the lie that you are anything less than a creator. You have been taught subtly and persistently from the moment you could understand language that reality is something you respond to rather than something that responds to you. This educational conditioning has created a deep groove in your mind that equates effort with power and struggle with nobility. You have been led to believe that if you work hard enough, if you push against the world with enough force, eventually the world will yield. But this is the logic of physical force applied to a quantum reality. In the realm of consciousness, effort is not the currency. Alignment is. The subconscious belief we discussed earlier whispers that you must see it to believe it. It demands proof before it offers investment. It acts like a skeptical banker, refusing to lend you the feeling of the wish fulfilled until you can prove you already possess the asset. But the law of assumption operates in the exact reverse order. The law states unequivocally that you must believe it to see it. This is not a play on words. This is the fundamental mechanic of how experience is generated. Let us look at this through the lens of how your mind actually processes information. Modern neuroscience has confirmed what mystics have known for thousands of years. Your brain is not a passive camera recording the world objectively. It is an aggressive filter. At any given second, millions of bits of data are flooding your senses. If your brain processed all of it, you would collapse from overstimulation. So, it filters. It creates a selective reality based on one primary criterion, which is your expectation. You do not perceive objectively. You perceive selectively. Your assumptions act as the gatekeeper of your attention. They decide what you notice, what you ignore, what feels possible, and what feels like a threat. If your deep-seated assumption is that life is hard and opportunities are scarce, your brain will literally blind you to the open doors right in front of your face. You could be standing next to the person who holds the key to your career breakthrough, but because your assumption is set to isolation and struggle, your brain will filter that person out as background noise. You will not see them. You will not feel the urge to speak to them. You will walk right past your miracle because your internal instruction to your brain was to look for struggle. Expectation shapes perception. Perception shapes behavior, and behavior shapes outcome. It is a closed loop. Scripture said it first and science caught up later. So, if the subconscious expects limitation, it will find evidence of limitation in a bouquet of roses. If it expects delay, it will interpret a neutral silence as a rejection. This brings us to the most insidious trap of the human psyche, which is the waiting room. The sneaky belief does not always tell you no. Instead, it tells you not yet. It convinces you that the reason your desire has not manifested is because you are not yet ready. It tells you that you must wait until you are worthy. Wait until you are healed. Wait until you have learned enough. Wait until the economy improves. Wait until the stars align. Waiting feels like a virtue. It feels like patience. But I tell you that in the context of manifestation, waiting is often disbelief in disguise. Waiting is the ego's way of delaying the assumption because it is afraid to claim its power. When you say, "I am waiting to be ready," you are affirming that right now you are not ready. You are cementing the state of lack. You are telling the universe that there is a gap between you and your desire. And you are filling that gap with time. But time does not fill the gap. Assumption fills the gap. The distance between you and your dream is not measured in years or months. It is measured in frequency. It is measured in the naturalness of the feeling. As long as you believe that something outside of you must change first, whether it is your bank account, your body, or another person's opinion, your imagination remains powerless. You have handed your creative power over to the calendar. Faith does not wait for permission. Faith assumes. This is why the scriptures emphasize the word now. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Notice the tense. It is the substance, not the future promise. It is the evidence, not the speculation. Faith is a present tense assumption that possesses the reality before the senses confirm it. The subconscious belief you must release is the idea that you are a project that needs to be fixed before you can be a creator who builds. You do not need to be perfect to manifest. You do not need to be fully healed of every childhood wound to manifest. You simply need to assume the state of the wish fulfilled. The paradox is that by assuming the state of wholeness, the healing happens. By assuming the state of abundance, the worthiness arrives. You do not fix yourself to get the state. You assume the state to fix the self. The sneaky belief says, "I must earn ease." The law says ease is a byproduct of alignment. When you are aligned with your desire, when you stop fighting the timeline and start inhabiting the end result, struggle evaporates. Ease is not something you get as a reward for suffering. Ease is the signal that you have stopped resisting your own good. Imagination is the creative faculty of consciousness. It is the means by which the invisible becomes visible. But imagination only works when it is felt as natural. And what feels natural is decided by the subconscious. You do not manifest what you want in a desperate, craving sort of way. You manifest what feels normal to you. This is why people sabotage huge opportunities. If success feels abnormal to your subconscious, if it feels like a foreign coat that doesn't fit, you will subconsciously tear it off. You will find a way to lose the money. You will find a way to ruin the relationship. The subconscious always works to restore what it believes is your baseline. So the work of the spiritual warrior is not to force things to happen in the outer world. The work is internal normalization. The work is to make the feeling of your wish fulfilled feel so normal so natural, so ordinary, that your subconscious accepts it as a fact of life. Christ said the kingdom of God is within you. This kingdom is not a physical place you go to when you die. It is an internal order. It is a state where your assumptions, your feelings, and your beliefs are perfectly aligned with the truth of your desire. Truth is not what the news says. Truth is not what your bank balance says. Truth is identity. When you identify with the state of waiting, you create more waiting. When you identify with the state of having, you create having. It is that simple and that difficult. The difficulty lies only in your addiction to the evidence of the senses. You have been trained to value the physical screen of life more than the projector of your own mind. You look at the screen and scream at the movie characters to change, forgetting that you are the one holding the film reel. You must stop waiting for the movie to change before you change the reel. This belief that you are subject to life creates a victim mentality that is very subtle. You might not complain loudly, but you might feel a quiet resignation. You might feel that you are just unlucky or that things never work out for you. That is the filter working. That is the reticular activating system of your brain proving you right. If you believe you are unlucky, your brain will scan the environment for evidence of bad luck and it will find it. It will ignore the 10 good things that happened and highlight the one bad thing, presenting it to you on a silver platter as proof that your assumption is correct. Therefore, to speak to the universe correctly, you must first stop listening to the old filter. You must override the default settings of your perception. You do this by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not as a fantasy you visit, but as the place you live. You stop visiting your dream like a tourist and you start inhabiting it like a resident. A tourist looks at the sights with excitement but knows they have to go home to their old reality. A resident walks the streets with a sense of ownership and familiarity. You must become a resident of your new state. You must walk in it, sleep in it, and eat in it, until the smell of it is no longer the smell of a rose in a garden you cannot touch, but the smell of the perfume on your own skin. When you stop waiting and start being, the universe shifts. It has no choice. The universe is not a judge deciding if you have waited long enough. It is a mirror reflecting who you are right now. If you are waiting, the mirror reflects waiting. If you are having, the mirror reflects having. The mechanism of waiting is a self-imposed prison. The door is unlocked. The guard is asleep. You have the key in your pocket. The key is your assumption. Stand up, walk through the door, and leave the waiting room behind forever. You are not here to prepare to live. You are here to live, and life begins at the level of your assumption. Now that we have exposed the mechanism of waiting and understood how the brain filters reality based on assumption, we arrive at the most critical battlefield of your life, which is the moment of reaction. You have accepted that you are a creator, but the old identity does not vanish simply because you read a book or watched a video. It lingers in your nervous system. It hides in your reflexes. This is where the dismantling begins, not through brute force or willpower, but through a piercing awareness of your own internal biology. Awareness dissolves what effort cannot. You must begin to act as a spy in your own house. You must watch your inner reactions, not just the thoughts that scream in your head, but the subtle tightening of your stomach, the shallowing of your breath, and the microscopic hesitation that occurs the moment life presents you with something new. Notice this pattern within yourself. When something truly good appears, do you instinctively tense up? When an opportunity for expansion arises, do you feel a sudden wave of suspicion? When ease presents itself, do you question it? That hesitation is not logic protecting you. That is your old identity protecting itself. The subconscious mind is designed to preserve the familiar, even if the familiar is painful. It prefers a familiar hell to an unfamiliar heaven. When you try to step into a new version of yourself, the subconscious screams that this is unknown territory and therefore it is dangerous. Unless you consciously intervene and reassign your identity, The old survival mechanism will always win. It will sabotage the success to bring you back to the safety of the struggle. This is why repetition is vital. We are not talking about the mindless repetition of words like a parrot. We are talking about the repetition of states. To remove the sneaky belief, you must repeatedly experience yourself as the source of your reality, not the responder to it. This brings us to the most misunderstood concept in spiritual literature, which is meekness. You have heard it said that the meek shall inherit the earth. For centuries, this has been mistranslated and misinterpreted to mean that the weak, the timid, and the doormats of the world will somehow be rewarded for their lack of backbone. This is a lie. The original meaning of the word translated as meek referred to a wild stallion that had been tamed. It did not lose its strength. It did not lose its fire. It retained all its power, but that power was now under perfect control. It was disciplined strength. To be meek in the metaphysical sense is to have the power to destroy, but choosing the power to build. It is the ability to stand in the face of a contradictory reality and not lose your temper. It is the refusal to argue with appearances. The meek mind does not panic when the bank account drops. The meek mind does not rush when time seems short. It holds its assumptions steady until reality conforms. This is the secret of why Jesus slept during the storm. The disciples were frantic because they were reacting to the waves. They were in agreement with the danger. Jesus was sleeping because he was in the state of safety. He did not agree with the storm's authority to harm him. Storms respond to authority, not fear. When he woke, he did not fight the wind. He spoke from his state of peace, and the wind obeyed. You must become the calm center of your own storm. You must cultivate this disciplined strength that refuses to give permission to chaos to enter your internal world. Let us apply this to your daily life. When something does not go your way, do not internalize it. Do not say that is just my luck. That phrase alone programs defeat into your cells. It tells your subconscious to look for more bad luck to validate your identity. Instead, say inwardly and calmly that this is rearranging. Say it not with emotion but with cold certainty. This shift in language rewires expectation. You are declaring that the chaos is not an end but a means. You are declaring that the obstacle is actually a bridge being built in a way you do not yet understand. Conversely, when something goes well, do not minimize it. Do not say it was just a coincidence or a fluke. That trains the subconscious to reject favor. Acknowledge the alignment. Say to yourself that this is who I am now. This is natural for me. The subconscious belief that must be uprooted is the deep fear that you are late, behind, or catching up. This fear makes you rush, and rushing is the enemy of manifestation. Time is not an enemy to be fought. Time is a servant of assumption. When you feel behind, you scatter your attention. When attention scatters, power leaks. But when you feel on time, presence returns. And presence is power. The scripture says, I make all things new. It does not say, I will make things new next year. It says, I make them new now. Newness begins the moment your identity shifts. So let go of the story that says, this is just how I am. That story is not humility. It is hypnosis. You are not fixed in stone. You are fluid consciousness expressing through form. This restructuring of reaction requires you to look at your past differently. The past only has power over you if you continue to agree with it emotionally in the present. If you are replaying old arguments, old failures, and old hurts, you are using your precious creative energy to keep those dead things alive. You must forgive the past. Forgiveness is not a moral act done for the sake of others. It is a selfish act of reclaiming your imagination. Imagination trapped in resentment cannot create the future. It can only recreate the past. When you forgive, you are not saying what happened was okay. You are saying that what happened no longer controls my vibration. You are cutting the emotional cord that feeds the old demon. Practice this gently but firmly. When a limiting thought arises, Do not fight it. Fighting gives it energy. Simply withdraw your agreement. Say inwardly that this assumption no longer governs me. Then return to the feeling of sufficiency. Not abundance yet, but sufficiency, safety, groundedness. From the feeling of sufficiency, abundance grows naturally. This is how the miracle of multiplication happens. It starts with gratitude for what is in the hand, which opens the floodgates for what is in the ether. Relationship determines experience. When you stop seeing life as something happening to you and begin seeing it as something responding through you, responsibility returns to its rightful place. It returns not as a heavy burden of blame, but as the scepter of power. You realize you are not responsible for micromanaging every detail of the outer world. You are responsible for maintaining your state. Your state is your stewardship. This is why the instruction is to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It does not say be transformed by the fixing of your circumstances. It says renew the mind. Return the mind to its original function, which is to serve imagination, not to imprison it. When you master your reaction, you achieve coherence. Coherence is when your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions are all saying the same thing. Most people are incoherent. They think they want money. They feel fear of poverty, and they act out of desperation. The universe receives a garbled signal and returns a chaotic result. But when you align, when you discipline your reaction to match your assumption, the signal becomes a laser beam. Agreement creates power. Power does not shout. It stabilizes. And stability attracts. You are now living by this law not occasionally, not just when things are going well, but consistently. You are not trying to kill the sneaky belief. You are outgrowing it. You are rendering it obsolete by the sheer weight of your new truth. Truth does not argue with illusion. It simply replaces it. So continue this work gently. Each time life presents a moment of uncertainty, treat it as an invitation to choose your state. Do not choose the outcome, choose the state. The outcome will follow the state just as the shadow follows the body. Each time fear suggests that this might not work, smile inwardly. Do not smile in mockery, but in recognition. Recognize that voice as an echo of the old man you used to be. You have heard this voice before, and you know where it leads. It leads to the circle of sameness. You no longer obey it. You return to center. You return to the breath. You return to the quiet knowing that consciousness leads and life follows. And as you remain here, standing in your disciplined strength, the belief loses its power entirely. It dies of starvation because you are no longer feeding it with your reaction. And in its place, a new belief is born. The belief that you are the operant power, the belief that you are safe, the belief that the universe is not a random lottery, but a faithful mirror of your own divine being. Before we go deeper into the art of communicating with the universe, I invite you to make a small but powerful commitment. If you are ready to stop reacting to the storm and start commanding the wind, if you are ready to reclaim your authority as a creator, simply like this video and subscribe to the channel right now. By doing this, you are not just supporting the channel. You are signaling to your own subconscious that you are ready for this truth. You are marking this moment as the beginning of your transformation. Join our community of awakened creators, and let us walk this path of mastery together. Now, let us discover how to move from begging to partnering with the infinite. We have arrived now at the fulcrum of this teaching. We have silenced the hidden belief, and we have decoded the mechanism of reaction. Now, we must address the act of communication itself. Most people spend their entire lives shouting at the universe, pleading with it, bargaining with it, and asking it to change. They approach the infinite intelligence as if it were a stingy landlord who needs to be convinced to fix the heat. This approach is not only exhausting, but it is metaphysically impossible to succeed because it is based on the illusion of separation When you beg, you are affirming that you do not have. When you plead, you are affirming that the power is outside of you and that it is reluctant to help. The universe, being a faithful mirror, reflects back this state of separation. It gives you more reasons to beg. It gives you more distance. To talk to the universe correctly, you must stop waiting for life to validate you and start validating life through your assumption. You must stop asking if it will work and start deciding what is true. This shift from asking to deciding is the moment you graduate from spiritual childhood to spiritual maturity. The subconscious belief we are releasing often disguises itself as caution. It says that you should wait for a sign before you commit. It says you should not get your hopes up in case you are disappointed. But I tell you that you were never meant to shrink your expectation to avoid pain. You were meant to expand your identity to dissolve fear. Pain does not come from high hopes. Pain comes from attachment to the physical appearances. When you are attached to the mirror, you are terrified when the reflection frowns. When you know you are the source of the reflection, you are not terrified. You simply change your expression. You must stop living as though reality is fixed and start living as though consciousness leads. This is not positive thinking. Positive thinking is often a band-aid placed over a deep wound of disbelief. You can chant positive affirmations all day long. But if your deep, gut-level assumption is one of fear, the universe will hear the fear, not the words. This is about alignment with law. When alignment stabilizes, manifestation is not dramatic, it is inevitable. You do not need to force the sun to rise. You simply align yourself with the rotation of the earth and the sun rises. In the same way, you do not force your desire to appear. You align yourself with the state of having it. And it appears. The most dangerous trap in communicating with the universe is the lack of inner honesty. We often lie to ourselves about what we are assuming. We think hopeful thoughts on the surface while screaming despair in the basement of our minds. You must become ruthless in your self-observation. Each time you notice yourself bracing for bad news, preparing for disappointment, or lowering your standards to be realistic, impose. Ask yourself quietly, what am I assuming right now? Not what am I thinking, but what am I assuming? Because assumption is the real engine. You may think I am wealthy while assuming I cannot pay this bill. The assumption always wins because the assumption carries the feeling, and feeling is the language of the universe. The subconscious belief we are releasing is resignation. Resignation says, I will accept whatever comes because I am powerless to stop it. Faith says, I know what comes because I have prepared the place for it. Faith is not forceful. It does not grit its teeth. Faith is decisive. Decisiveness is not loud. It is settled. Think of the way a master speaks. They use few words. They do not over-explain. They do not try to convince you. They simply state what is. When you talk to the universe, be like that master. Do not try to convince the universe that you deserve your good. The universe already knows you deserve it because it gave you the desire in the first place. Simply assume the state. This brings us to the concept of partnership. Partnership is the highest form of power. When you move from being a victim of life to being a partner with life, the hostility of the world evaporates. You realize that the universe is not withholding anything from you. It has been waiting for you to stop broadcasting static so it can play the music. When you feel partnered with life, you stop judging every delay as a denial. You realize that sometimes the universe rearranges things behind the scenes to give you something better than you asked for. This trust allows you to remain steady. You stop saying, why is this taking so long? And you start saying, this is unfolding perfectly. Language matters because language reflects assumption. If your inner speech is full of complaints, you are praying for more things to complain about. If your inner speech is full of arguments with imaginary people, you are praying for conflict. You must become intentional with your inner language. This does not mean you force yourself to say things you do not believe. That creates internal conflict. It means you choose words that are true to the state you are choosing. You do not say, I am a millionaire if you feel poor, because that creates resistance. Instead, you say, I am moving into a new relationship with money. I am accepting that abundance is my natural state. You bridge the gap with words that feel true but point in the right direction. As you practice this new way of speaking, not just with your mouth, but with your vibration, you will notice a profound shift. The world will feel less heavy. This is not because the gravity has changed. It is because you have stopped carrying the weight of trying to control the uncontrollable. You realize your responsibility is not the how, your responsibility is the who. Who are you being? Are you being the one who waits or the one who has? The universe responds to the who. When you embody the identity of the one who is loved, love finds you. When you embody the identity of the one who is successful, opportunities find you. They do not find you because you hunted them down. They find you because you are broadcasting the signal that attracts them. So the invitation now is simple and exact. Stop begging. Stop pleading. Stop hoping in the vague sense of the word. Start assuming. Start claiming. Start inhabiting. When you catch yourself saying that is just how it is, stop and correct it. Say that is how it was, but this is how it is now. Rewrite the script in real time. Do not let a single limiting thought pass through the gate of your mind without being challenged. You are the guardian of the gate. You are the author of the play, and the universe is the stage manager waiting for your script. Hand it a script of triumph, not tragedy. Hand it a script of abundance, not lack. Speak to the universe with the quiet confidence of one who knows that they and the Father are one. When you do this, you are not just changing your life, you are fulfilling your purpose. You are allowing the divine to experience its own limitless potential through you, and that is why you are here. We have established that you are a partner with the universe, and that your inner speech is the tool of that partnership. Now we must address how to sustain this partnership, so it does not become a fleeting moment of inspiration but a permanent state of being. The subconscious belief we are working to dismantle often hides in the dramatic. It loves the idea of miracles because miracles are rare. Miracles are exceptions, and miracles imply that the power is outside of you. But the true master does not seek miracles. The true master seeks normalization. Normalization is the process of taking the extraordinary and making it so familiar, so expected, and so ordinary that your nervous system no longer reacts to it with shock, but with a quiet nod of recognition. The subconscious mind learns through evidence, but it is very specific about what kind of evidence it accepts. It only learns from the evidence you honor. This is where most people fail in their manifestation journey. When a bad thing happens, they study it. They analyze it. They call their friends to discuss it. They replay it in their minds before they sleep. They honor the negative event with their full attention. And thus the subconscious says, this is important. I will bring you more of this. But when a good thing happens, when a moment of grace appears, when the traffic lights turn green all the way home, or when a check arrives in the mail unexpectedly, what do most people do? They dismiss it. They say that was just a coincidence. They say, I got lucky. They say it was a fluke. Do you realize what you are doing when you use the word luck? You are telling your subconscious that you had nothing to do with it. You are disowning your own creation. You are telling the universe that this good thing is an intruder, an accident, an exception to the rule of struggle. And because the subconscious acts on your instructions, it will ensure that this accident does not happen again. If you explain away grace, you train the mind to reject it. If you acknowledge alignment, you normalize it. Normalization is transformation. What becomes normal becomes repeatable. We must redefine the purpose of gratitude. You have been taught that gratitude is a polite social gesture, something you say to be a good person. But metaphysically, gratitude is a mechanism of appropriation. It is how you stamp your name on an event, When you say thank you for a specific moment of flow, ease, or support, you are assigning meaning to that event. You are saying, this belongs in my life. This is not a random outlier. This is a sample of my new reality. By being precise with your gratitude, by acknowledging specific moments where the universe responded to you, you are building a case file in the court of your mind. You are proving to yourself that the law is working. Let this sink in. The universe does not judge the size of the manifestation. It does not know the difference between a penny found on the street and $1 million in the bank. It only knows the feeling of abundance. When you treat the small victories with the same reverence and normalization as the big ones, you bridge the gap. You stop swinging between the highs of hope and the lows of disappointment. You become anchored. An anchored person does not beg for the storm to stop. They simply do not move. This stability is magnetic. When you are no longer desperate for a result, the result feels safe to approach you. This leads us to the subtle art of interpreting time. The old identity asks, why is this taking so long? That question is a trap. It presupposes that something is wrong. It presupposes that you are waiting. As we discussed, waiting is a state of lack. You must change your internal vocabulary from the language of waiting to the language of unfolding. Instead of saying this is delayed, say this is unfolding. A flower does not wait to bloom, it unfolds. A pregnancy is not a 9-month wait, it is a 9-month unfolding. Every stage is necessary. Every stage is active. When you view your life as an unfolding, the pressure of time dissolves. You stop checking the clock and start enjoying the rhythm. Language matters because language reflects assumption and assumption directs feeling. Feeling directs action. Action directs result. So you become intentional with your inner language. Not forced. Not affirmational in a fake way. But true to the state you are choosing. You do not say everything is perfect when your world is falling apart. That is delusion. You say this is not final. You say this is a chapter, not the whole book. You do not say I have everything when you do not. You say I am supported. Support is a state. Possession is an effect. Stay with the state and the effects must follow. As days pass in this practice of normalization, you will notice something profound happening to your perception. The world feels less hostile. It feels less random. It feels less heavy. This is not because the world changed. The economy may be the same. The politicians may be the same, but your relationship to it has changed. Relationship determines experience. When you stop seeing life as something happening to you and begin seeing it as something responding through you, responsibility returns to its rightful place. It returns not as a burden, but as power. You realize you are not responsible for controlling every external variable. You are responsible for maintaining your state. State is your stewardship, and stewardship is sacred. This is why Christ said, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind," not by fixing behavior, not by forcing belief, but by renewing, returning to the original function. The mind was meant to serve imagination, is not imprison it. So now imagination is freed not to fantasize wildly, but to assume wisely. You assume peace, you assume sufficiency, you assume clarity. And from these assumptions, choices naturally align. You no longer force discipline. You feel guided toward order, toward simplicity, toward coherence. Coherence is when thoughts, feelings, and actions agree. Agreement creates power. Power does not shout. It stabilizes. And stability attracts. This is the law you are now living by. Not occasionally, not emotionally, but consistently. You are not trying to get rid of the sneaky belief by effort. You are outgrowing it by truth. And truth does not argue. It replaces. So continue gently. Each time life presents a moment of uncertainty, treat it as an invitation to choose your state, not the outcome. Choose the state of safety and the outcome of safety will follow. You are moving from a life of accidents to a life of architecture. An architect does not call the placement of a window lucky. He placed it there. You are placing your blessings with your attention. You are placing your opportunities with your assumptions. And when they appear, you do not faint with surprise. You nod. You say thank you. You say, of course, because this is who you are now. This is not a miracle. This is your new normal. And once it is normal, it is yours forever. This is the power of normalization. It is the ultimate victory over the belief in luck. It is the claiming of your divine inheritance. You are no longer a guest in the house of God hoping for a scrap of food. You are a son. You are a daughter. And you live here. The pantry is open. The abundance is yours. Not because you begged for it, but because you finally accepted it as the natural order of your existence. We have explored the philosophy of the hidden belief and the mechanics of reaction. We have discussed the power of partnership and the art of normalization. But philosophy without application remains mere intellectual entertainment. We are not here to be entertained. We are here to be transformed. Therefore, we arrive now at the laboratory of your own life. I am issuing you a specific invitation, a challenge that will prove the validity of these laws, not to your intellect, but to your experience. There is a sacred rhythm that moves beneath everything you can see, a pulse of divine intelligence that governs the stars and your own breath. You are part of this rhythm, but through the habit of unconscious reaction, you have fallen out of sync with it. To realign with this rhythm, we must interrupt the pattern of your current consciousness. I invite you to enter into a 3-day mental fast. This is not a fast from food, but a fast from the poison of negativity, doubt, and agreement with limitation. For 3 consecutive days, you are to watch your inner and outer speech with the vigilance of a hawk. The challenge is simple yet profound. You are to speak to the universe only in the language of fulfillment. This means no complaints. This means no gossip. This means no verbalizing of fear. This means no recounting of past injuries. And most importantly, this means no contradictions to your desire. If you desire health, you may not speak of sickness. If you desire abundance, you may not complain about the price of gas. You cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot broadcast 2 opposing frequencies and expect a clear picture on the screen of your life. This 3-day period is not arbitrary. It takes roughly 3 days to break the immediate chemical addiction your body has to negative emotional states. You must understand that you are not just fighting thoughts, you are fighting biology. Your nervous system has become addicted to the rush of adrenaline and cortisol that comes from stress and drama. When you stop complaining, your body will actually go into withdrawal. It will beg you to find something to be upset about just to get its fix of familiar chemicals. This is why the sneaky belief is so hard to shake. It is physical as well as mental. So when the urge to complain arises, and it will, you must recognize it not as truth, but as a withdrawal symptom of the old self dying. During these 3 days, you will face the ultimate test of the distinction we made earlier between acceptance and agreement. Reality will not stop just because you are on a mental diet. A bill might arrive in the mail. A colleague might be rude. The car might not start. This is the crucible. The old you would react. The old you would agree with the event and say, here we go again. Nothing ever works for me. But the new you, the partner of the universe, will practice the art of separation. You will accept the event. You will look at the bill and say, I see this bill. That is acceptance. But you will not offer your agreement. You will not say, this bill proves I am poor. You will not let the external fact dictate your internal state. You will replace the reactive thought with a higher truth. You will say, all is well. I am safe in divine order. This situation is resolving itself in my favor. This is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending to be a robot. It is about alchemy. You are taking the raw energy of a negative reaction and transmuting it into the gold of faith. When fear arises, do not fight it. Fighting fear only feeds it with your attention. Instead, gently replace it. Imagine you are tuning a radio. If you hear static, you do not scream at the radio. You simply turn the dial until you find the clear signal. During these 3 days, you are the master of the dial. When doubt whispers, you turn the dial to certainty. When impatience comes, you turn the dial to trust. You remind yourself that the universe is never late, and that what you call a delay is merely the invisible gathering of resources for your benefit. You must become the guardian of your own atmosphere. Imagine that your consciousness is a garden and your thoughts are the seeds. For 3 days, you are refusing to plant a single weed. If a weed seed lands in your mind from the collective consciousness or from the news, you pick it up and throw it out before it can take root. You say to yourself, that does not belong in my garden. This level of discipline requires energy, which is why we start with just 3 days. It is a sprint to break the inertia, and I promise you, if you do this with total sincerity, the results will shock you. You will notice that life starts to move differently around you. It will feel as though the gears of the universe have been oiled. You will experience coincidences that are statistically impossible. A person you need to speak to will call you. A parking spot will open up exactly when you need it. A solution to a problem that has plagued you for weeks will drop into your mind while you are washing dishes. These are not random accidents. These are feedback loops. The universe is showing you that when you change the input, the output changes immediately. You will feel waves of peace where once there was anxiety. You will see doors opening without effort, because as soon as you begin to speak correctly, life begins to answer differently. This 3-day challenge reveals the great secret that the universe was never ignoring you. It was simply reflecting the quality of your own conversation. The world is your mirror, and you are the voice behind its reflection. If you have been shouting frustration into the mirror has been faithfully reflecting frustration back. By changing your voice to one of gratitude and expectation, the mirror must change. It has no choice. It is law. And this realization brings you to a place of immense power and immense humility. You realize that you are the operant power. You are the cause. The world is just the effect. So for these 3 days, let your words become blessings. Let your thoughts become prayers. Let your feelings become the hands of God shaping your reality. Speak life over your home. Speak peace over your body. Speak abundance over your finances. Speak love over every relationship. Even if the current reality looks like chaos, speak order. Remember, in the beginning, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. God did not say, "Oh no, look at this mess." God said, "Let there be light." You are doing the same. You are looking at the void in your life and speaking light. As you move through this challenge, pay attention to the silence between your thoughts. That is where the new identity is being born. When you stop the chatter of negativity, you create a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. Into that empty space, divine intelligence will rush in. You will find yourself having insights and ideas that are far beyond your usual capacity. This is because you have finally taken your foot off the hose. The water of life has always been flowing, but your complaints were kinking the hose. Now, the flow is unimpeded. Commit to this now, not tomorrow, not next week. Start the moment this video ends. Give yourself 3 days of absolute mental purity. Treat it as a game. Treat it as an experiment. But treat it with respect, because in these 3 days, you are not just changing your habits. You are proving to yourself that you are not a victim of circumstances, but a creator of worlds. You are proving that when you talk to the universe correctly, it listens and it answers with a resounding yes. And once you taste this power, once you see the undeniable evidence of your own alignment, you will never want to go back to the old way of speaking again. The 3 days will become a lifestyle, and that is when the true magic begins. We have now arrived at the sanctuary of the inner self, the place where the true machinery of creation is housed. Everything we have discussed so far regarding the silencing of beliefs, the mastery of reaction, and the 3-day challenge leads to this singular, fundamental truth, which is the power of your own identity. You must understand that the language of the universe is not English, French, or any human tongue. The universe speaks in signatures of being, and the password to this system, the master key that unlocks every door in creation, is the phrase I am. When you say I am, you are not merely using a grammatical connector to describe yourself. You are invoking the name of the unconditioned consciousness. You are activating the creative power of the universe at its source. The ancient texts tell us that this is the name of God. I am that I am. This was not a riddle. It was a revelation of method. It means that consciousness defines itself by what it attaches itself to. You are the operant power. And whatever you attach to your I am becomes the law of your life. Most people live their entire lives committing the ultimate blasphemy, not by swearing, but by misusing this holy name. They take the name of the Creator in vain every single day. When you say I am tired, I am sick, I am poor, I am unworthy, I am unlucky, you are not just describing a temporary condition. You are signing a decree. You are taking the infinite creative potential of God and imprisoning it within a limitation. You are commanding the universe to shape your reality into the likeness of that limitation. The universe has no sense of humor. It does not know when you are joking. It does not know when you are just venting. It listens to your I am with absolute obedience. If you say I am broke, the universe essentially says so be it, and arranges the circumstances of your life to ensure you remain broke. You are cursing yourself with your own tongue, unaware that the power to bless or curse lies in how you finish that sentence. This brings us back to the critical distinction between acceptance and agreement. This is where the I am becomes your sword and shield. Acceptance is acknowledging the facts of the moment. You can look at your body and see illness. That is acceptance. But agreement is when you say, I am sick. Do you see the difference? The moment you say, I am sick, you have merged your eternal identity with a temporary condition. You have claimed ownership of the sickness. You have agreed to be its host. The master, however, separates the two. He accepts the symptom but reserves his I am for the truth. He might say, I feel a symptom, but I am health. He might say, I see a lack of funds, but I am abundance. This is not lying. This is asserting the superior reality of the spirit over the shadow of the physical world. You must learn to fiercely guard your I am. You must never attach it to anything you do not want to become true in your experience. The tool you use to direct this power is your inner speech. We are always talking to ourselves, from the moment we wake until the moment we sleep. There is a monologue running in the background of our minds. This inner speech is the unceasing prayer that shapes our destiny. Most people are unaware of this dialogue. They let their minds run wild, arguing with imaginary people, rehearsing tragedies, reliving past hurts, and justifying their limitations. This mental chatter is the blueprint you are sending to the cosmic factory. If your inner speech is a constant rehearsal of victimhood, you cannot expect the outer world to present you with victory. The two must match. You cannot have the voice of a beggar inside and the life of a king outside. It is metaphysically impossible. Your inner speech is where the true work of transformation takes place. You must begin to audit your internal conversations. What are you saying to yourself when no one is listening? Are you congratulating yourself or condemning yourself? Are you speaking to others in your mind with love or with resentment? Every time you hold a mental argument with your boss, your spouse, or a politician, you are cementing a state of conflict within your own consciousness. And because I am is the root of all experience, that conflict must manifest in your world. You must learn to stop these negative conversations mid-sentence. You must rewrite the script. If you catch yourself mentally arguing with someone, Stop and rewrite the scene. Hear them congratulating you. Hear them agreeing with you. Hear them praising you. By changing the internal dialogue, you change the external relationship. This is the magic of the I Am. It is not bound by space or time. It can travel into the minds of others and rewrite the script of your interactions, because at the deepest level, there is no other. There is only one consciousness playing all the parts. Let us deepen the understanding of how I Am relates to time. The universe operates in the eternal now. There is no future in the realm of consciousness. There is only the present moment. Therefore, your I Am must always be in the present tense. You cannot say, I will be wealthy. That is a trap. I will be pushes the reality into a future that never arrives. It is a carrot on a stick. You must say, I am wealthy. You might object and say, but look at my bank account. It is empty. This is where you must withdraw your agreement from the senses and place it in the assumption. You are not saying the cash is physically in your pocket at this second. You are saying that the state of wealth is your present spiritual reality. And because the spiritual generates the physical, the cash must follow. But it can only follow if you hold the state in the present. You must appropriate the feeling of the wish fulfilled before the visible confirmation appears. This practice requires a type of spiritual stubbornness. You must be obstinate in your refusal to let the world define your I Am. The world will constantly try to stick labels on you. It will call you too old, too young, too uneducated, too this or too that. These are invitations to agree. You must decline the invitation. You must define yourself. When you wake up in the morning, before your feet hit the floor, you have a golden window of opportunity to set the tone for the entire universe. Do not wake up and immediately download the problems of yesterday. Do not wake up and say, I am so tired or I have so much to do. Wake up and declare your identity. Place your hand on your heart and say, I am resurrection. I am life. I am the open door that no man can shut. I am guided by divine intelligence. Feel the vibration of those words. They are not just sounds, they are commands. The reason why I Am is so powerful is that it bypasses the analytical mind and speaks directly to the subconscious. The subconscious is compelled to prove the I Am correct. If you say, I am confident, even if you are shaking in your boots, your subconscious will immediately begin to access the chemistry of confidence. Retrieve memories of confidence and alter your posture to reflect confidence. It is a command code for your biology and your psychology, but it works both ways. If you say, I am a mess, the subconscious will dutifully degrade your nervous system to match that definition. You are the programmer. The I Am is the code. The life you live is the program running on the screen. If you do not like the program, stop yelling at the screen and change the code. You must also understand that the I Am is the unification of thought and feeling. You cannot just say the words like a parrot. You must feel the truth of them. This is where the distinction between acceptance and agreement saves you again. You accept that you may not feel 100% successful in this moment, but you agree with the truth that success is your destiny. You generate the feeling of success within the laboratory of your own body. You summon the emotion. You do not wait for the applause to feel proud. You feel proud and the applause follows. You do not wait for the love to feel lovable. You assume the state of being loved. You say, I am loved. And the partners show up. The feeling is the fuel that launches the rocket of the I Am. Without the feeling, the words are just empty husks. With the feeling, they are nuclear. So, your task, your sacred duty, is to become the vigilant guardian of your identity. You must curate your I Am with the same care. A curator handles priceless art. Do not let cheap, destructive labels stick to your soul. Wash them off with the power of your inner speech. When the world says you are finished, you say, I am just beginning. When the world says you are alone, you say, I am connected to the infinite. When the world says it is impossible, You say, I am the exception. This is how you speak to the universe correctly. You do not beg it for a change of identity. You declare your identity and the universe rearranges itself to honor the declaration. You are the king who has forgotten his crown. The I am is the act of picking that crown up, placing it back on your head, and remembering that the kingdom was yours all along. It never left you. You only forgot who you were. Now, through the power of I am, you remember, and in that remembrance, the world is reborn. We have journeyed through the architecture of belief, the dismantling of reaction, the discipline of inner speech, and the power of identity. Now, we arrive at the destination. This is not the end of the video in the traditional sense, but the beginning of your new life. It is the arrival at the state of consciousness the mystics call the Sabbath. This is not a day of the week. It is a psychological state of rest that comes from the absolute conviction that the work is finished. When you speak to the universe correctly, when you align your agreement with your desire, you do not remain in a state of striving. You enter a state of relief. This is the ultimate indicator that your prayer has been heard. It is the deep, settling silence that washes over you when you realize there is nothing left to ask for because the answer has already been given. Let us return one final time to the distinction between acceptance and agreement, because this is where the mastery is solidified. In this final state, you look at your physical world, which may not yet have changed one iota. The debt may still be there. The diagnosis may still be there. The loneliness may still be there. You accept this. You do not fight the facts of the moment, because fighting creates resistance. But here is the secret. You withdraw your agreement from the idea that these facts are permanent. You agree instead with the invisible reality you have constructed in your imagination. You walk through your world, seeing the lack with your physical eyes, but seeing the abundance with your spiritual eyes. And you do this without conflict. You do this with the quiet confidence of a person who has ordered a package online and knows it is on the way. You do not pace the floor wondering if the package exists. You do not call the company every 5 minutes to beg for it. You accept the time lag between the order and the delivery, but you agree with the reality of ownership. This state of it is done is the most powerful frequency a human being can emit. It is the frequency of non-resistance. The universe operates on the path of least resistance. When you are desperate, when you are checking for signs, when you are constantly asking, where is it? You are creating resistance. You are telling the universe that you do not have it. But when you rest, when you drop the heavy weight of trying to make it happen, you become a superconductor for the divine plan. You stop blocking your own blessing. The subconscious mind, which we have discussed at length, takes your rest as the final command. It reasons that if you are resting, the battle must be over. If you are at peace, the victory must be won. And so, it rushes to externalize that victory. Many people mistake the feeling of it is done for a state of high excitement. They think they should feel like they just won the lottery every second of the day. But that is unsustainable. The true feeling of the wish fulfilled is not manic excitement. It is naturalness. It is relief. It is the feeling of taking off tight shoes at the end of a long day. It is the feeling of exhaling a breath you didn't know you were holding. When you truly know that your desire is a spiritual fact, you don't feel the need to shout it from the rooftops. You feel a quiet, secret smile in your heart. You feel a sense of course. Of course I am successful. Of course I am loved. Of course I am healed. It ceases to be a surprise and becomes your new normal. This implies a profound shift in how you relate to the concept of time. In the state of it is done, you are no longer waiting for the future. You are living from the end. To live from the end means that you view the present moment, no matter what it looks like, as the bridge that leads inevitably to your fulfillment. You stop judging the bridge. You stop analyzing the bridge. You simply walk across it. If the bridge is rocky, you say this is part of the way. If the bridge is smooth, you say this is part of the way. You are no longer easily triggered because you know the destination is secured. You have seen the end of the movie, so the suspense of the middle scenes no longer terrifies you. You can watch the drama of your life unfold without being consumed by it because you know the hero wins in the final scene. Creation is finished. This is perhaps the most difficult concept for the rational mind to grasp. But it is the cornerstone of this philosophy. You are not creating something from nothing. You are not forcing the universe to manufacture a new reality for you. You are simply tuning into a reality that already exists. All possible versions of your life, the version where you are poor and the version where you are wealthy, the version where you are sick and the version where you are whole, exist right now in the vast, timeless dimension of consciousness. Manifestation is simply the act of selecting which channel you will tune into. When you speak to the universe correctly, you are using your attention to select the channel. And when you say, "It is done," you are putting down the remote control. You are sitting back to watch the show. So, why do we struggle to stay in this state? Because we are addicted to the shovel. We plant the seed of our desire in the soil of the subconscious. And then, because we are anxious and lack faith, we dig it up every morning to see if it has roots. We disturb the soil with our doubts. We expose the seed to the harsh light of our skepticism. And then we wonder why it never grows. The state of "it is done" is the discipline of leaving the seed alone. It is the discipline of trusting the darkness of the soil. You do not know how the seed becomes a flower. You do not know how the universe will rearrange the chess pieces of 7 billion people to bring you your desire. And you do not need to know. The how is the domain of the universe. The what is the domain of your I am. When you try to figure out the how, you are trespassing on divine territory. Step back. Let the universe do its job. As you enter this final phase of understanding, you must realize that you are not separate from the thing you seek. The desire you feel is not a signal of lack. It is the phantom sensation of the reality trying to bore through you. You are pregnant with your desire, and just as a mother does not need to strain or struggle to grow the child, you do not need to strain to bring forth your manifestation. The intelligence that beats your heart is the same intelligence that will birth your dream. Your only job is to stay healthy in mind, to keep your agreement with life, and to not abort the dream with fear. You carry it with dignity. You carry it with joy. You carry it knowing that the delivery date is set and cannot be missed. So, I invite you now to drop the struggle. Drop the need to convince anyone, including yourself. You have spoken your word. You have felt the truth of it. You have aligned your I am with your desire. That is enough. Any effort beyond this point is merely anxiety, masquerading as work. Let a wave of relaxation move through your body. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. This physical release is the somatic signal of faith. You are telling your body that the danger is over. You are telling your cells that the search is finished. You have found the pearl of great price. And it is within you. The universe is not a deaf entity that needs to be shouted at. It is an intimate presence that hears the whisper of your belief. And the moment you truly believe, the moment you truly agree that it is done, the universe responds with a resounding yes. It has no other vocabulary. It can only say yes to your conviction. If you are convinced of lack, it says yes to lack. If you are convinced of fullness, it says yes to fullness. By entering the state of rest, you are giving the universe the ultimate signal of conviction. You are saying, "I trust you." And trust is the currency of the kingdom. Walk away from this moment, not as a person who is hoping for a result, but as a person who is carrying a secret. The secret is that you have already seen the end. You have already tasted the wine of success. You've already felt the embrace of love. It is real. It is recorded in the ether. And now, time, that slow and heavy servant, is working double time to catch up with your consciousness. Do not look back. Do not second guess. Do not check the mirror every 5 minutes. Walk forward with your eyes fixed on the inner vision, and let the outer world reshape itself in your wake. It is done. Not because I say so, but because you have decreed it. And your decree is the law of your universe. Rest in that power. Rest in that peace. It is finished. My friend, we have arrived at the end of this broadcast. But in truth, we have only just arrived at the beginning of your real work. We have walked together through the corridors of the mind. We have exposed the hidden beliefs that have kept you small. We have dismantled the habit of waiting. We have learned the art of partnership and the power of the I am. You are not the same person who clicked on this video an hour ago. Something has shifted in the architecture of your soul. A door that was locked has been opened, and a light has been turned on in a room that was dark for too long. But now comes the most dangerous moment. It is the moment when the teaching ends and the application must begin. You are standing at a crossroads. You have two choices. You can treat this video as mere entertainment, a pleasant hour of spiritual stimulation that you will forget by tomorrow morning when the pressures of the world return. Or you can treat this as a turning point. You can decide that this was not just a video you watched, but an appointment you kept with your own destiny. The universe brought you here not by accident, but by assignment. You were led to these words because you are ready to graduate from the school of struggle and enter the school of creation. But the diploma is not given to those who listen. It is given to those who do. I want to speak to you about the power of environment and community. The path of the Creator can feel lonely because the world around you is still asleep. The world is still addicted to drama, to fear, and to the news cycle of despair. If you try to walk this path alone, the gravity of the collective consciousness will try to pull you back down. You need a sanctuary. You need a place where these truths are spoken, remembered, and lived. This channel is that sanctuary. It is not just a collection of videos. It is a frequency holder. It is a gathering place for those who have decided to wake up. Therefore, I extend a specific invitation to you. If these words have resonated with your spirit, if you felt a physical confirmation of truth in your body while listening, then I ask you to make a physical gesture of your internal agreement. Press the subscribe button right now. Do not do it for me. Do it for yourself. Do it as a signal to your own subconscious that you are committing to this new way of being. When you subscribe, you are telling the algorithm of the universe that you want more truth, more power, and more alignment in your life. You are planting a flag in the soil of this digital space and saying that here I will grow. And if this message has served you, if it has given you a key to unlock a prison door in your mind, I ask you to share it. There is someone in your life right now who is suffering. There is someone who is trapped in the loop of how things are. They are waiting for a word of hope. Be the bridge. Share this video with them. Not to preach to them, but to offer them the same lifeline you have just grabbed. By sharing truth, you multiply it in your own life. You become a conduit, and the pipe that carries the water always gets wet first. As you give, so shall you receive. That is the law. Now, let us return to the practical commitment I asked of you. Do not let the 3-day challenge fade from your mind as the screen goes black. This is your homework. This is your crucible. Starting from this very moment, watch your tongue. Watch your thoughts. Become the guardian of your own atmosphere. For 3 days, speak only of fulfillment. Speak only of success. Speak only of health. If you fall, and you might, simply pick yourself up and start again. Do not judge yourself. Just return to the standard. You are retraining a lifetime of habits, and that takes patience. But remember, you are not doing this alone. The entire universe is conspiring to help you the moment you commit. You might feel a resistance rising up as we close. The old self is afraid of dying. It is whispering that this is too hard, that you are not special enough, or that it won't work for you. Smile at that voice. It is just a ghost. It has no power. You are the operant power. You are the one who decides what is true. You have the name of God, the I am, etched into your very being. Use it. Use it tonight when you lay your head on the pillow. Do not drift off to sleep worrying about tomorrow. Drift off to sleep in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. Let your last thought before unconsciousness be a thought of gratitude. Thank you, Father, that it is done. Let that be your lullaby. As you go forward into your life, you will see the world with new eyes. You will see the behavior of others not as attacks, but as reflections of their own internal states. You will see the news not as final truth, but as a reflection of the collective sleep. And you will see yourself not as a victim of these things, but as the one who has the power to change the channel. You are a lighthouse in a stormy sea. A lighthouse does not run around the island looking for boats to save. It just stands there and shines. Your job is to stand. Your job is to shine. Your job is to stay in the state of the wish fulfilled and let your light guide the ships of your desire home to the harbor. I want you to know that I believe in you. I believe in your capacity to change. I believe in the dream that has been placed in your heart. It was not placed there to torment you. It was placed there because it is your destiny. The desire is the prophecy of its own fulfillment. Trust the desire. Trust the unfolding. Trust the silence. You have everything you need. You are not missing any tool. You are not missing any knowledge. You are not missing any connection. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It is not a place you go. It is a place you come from. So come from it. Live from it. Speak from it. Let this video be the marker in the timeline of your life. Let there be the life you lived before you knew how to speak to the universe, and the life you live now. The old conversation is over. The new conversation has begun. And in this new conversation, there are no victims, only creators. There are no accidents, only synchronicity. There is no lack, only the temporary invisibility of infinite supply. You are the author. The pen is in your hand. The ink is your feeling. The paper is the world. Write a beautiful story. Thank you for walking this path with me today. Thank you for your time, which is the most precious gift you have. Thank you for your willingness to awaken. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, where we will go even deeper into the mysteries of the mind. Until then, remember who you are. Remember what you carry. Remember that you are never alone. The universe is closer than your hands and feet. Speak to it with love, and it will answer with miracles. Go now and live the truth you have heard. Be the living proof of this law. Let your life be the sermon that needs no words. Let your peace be the argument that silences all doubt. You are ready. You are capable. You are the one. It is done. It is done. It is done.